What is up, guys? Here we are with Newton's second law. Let's get right into it. Okay, so Newton's second law states that the alteration of motion is ever proportional to the motive force impressed and is made in the direction of the right line in which that force is impressed. Or, in other words, force equals mass times acceleration. Okay, now how did I boil all of that down to F equals m times a? If we think about it, any object, any system that we are interested in analyzing is a mass. It has a mass. And if we want to move that system, well, it has to undergo acceleration to go from zero velocity to some velocity, positive or negative, in order to displace its position, right? So if we want to accelerate this object, then we need to impart a force into that object. And all that Newton's second law is saying is that if you impart a force, an unbalanced force, into an object, then the resultant vector of all of those forces acting on the system will cause a movement in the same direction and proportional to that resultant vector. Okay, so let's see how that plays out and further define some terms. So just for clarity's sake, force equals mass times acceleration. And I'll write in force as well. Okay, so let me try to enlighten everyone on how this equation works and why it's important for biomechanics and kinesiology in general. F, force. Force is important. There's no change in motion from rest to moving or acceleration, deceleration, change of direction. None of that occurs without force. But we know that all systems have a very specific mass. Let's consider an athlete running down the field. Maybe this athlete is a soccer player and he weighs 70 kilograms. Well, there's going to be a certain amount of force that he has to put into the ground in various directions, those force vectors, in order to direct his motion around the field. And all of those changes in motion can be thought of as accelerations. So he has a certain mass, the mass of the system, and he needs to apply force in order to accelerate, not just in a linear manner, like if we think of a 100-meter dash, somebody accelerating out of the blocks, but in any plane of motion, in any direction. Okay, so F equals m times a, and that's true not just for people, but for any system of interest. So if it's a ball rolling down a hill, or a rock hurtling through space, or a box on a slope with friction, all of those systems function by this equation, F equals m times a. Okay, let's get into some examples. Oh, and just to specify, I'm going to put this summation sign in front of the F because we are looking at net forces on the system. Okay, example 1. Now I'm going to draw out a graph, and in this graph we are going to look at a system and see what happens when you change not only the force given by the system, but also the mass of said system. And on the y-axis, we have acceleration. And on the x-axis, we have both applied force and mass. Okay, in this example, we are going to look at what happens to a system when it's acted upon by differing magnitudes of force. And we are also going to look at what happens when that system is acted on by the same magnitude of force, but with differing masses of that system. Okay, so what happens if the system doesn't weigh very much to it weighing quite a bit? How does that resultant acceleration of the system change? Okay, so if you check out the graph, we have acceleration on the y-axis, applied force on the x-axis, number 1, and mass on the x-axis, number 2. And my system is going to be a jumper. All right, so we have this guy who is in the bottom position, the amortization phase of a counter movement vertical jump, and I'm going to duplicate it so we can make 3 of them. And on each of these instances, what I will manipulate is the size of his lower leg musculature. And the first guy is just your traditional stick figure. Not very much lower leg musculature, not very well developed muscles, can't apply very much force. It's like, do you even lift, bro? And the second guy, I'm going to draw some baby quads and some baby glutes, some baby hamstrings, and it looks like he's making some gains in the gym. And let's assume, we have to assume that guy number 2 has the same mass as guy number 1. So I don't know how we'd achieve that with more muscle, but let's just say, for the sake of this hypothetical example, that each of those more muscular guys weighs the same as that first guy, okay? Now the third guy, guy number 3, if you will, I'm going to draw some jacked quads and some big old glutes and big old hamstrings and this nice thick gastrocnemius. His applied force will be greater. Now let's look at what happens to the acceleration and therefore the takeoff velocity and therefore the jump height of each of these 3 individuals. So guy number 1, he jumps and he has some amount of acceleration. The acceleration is represented by these red dotted lines that I'm drawing. So you can see here as we go from left to right, our least muscular to our most muscular stick figures. The more muscular they are, the more force that they can produce. And the more force that they can produce, that they put into the ground, the greater the reactive force or the reaction force is on their bodies, sending them into the air. So guy number 1 on the left here, he has small muscles, therefore small magnitude of force, and therefore he doesn't jump very high. The acceleration of his body isn't very great, therefore his takeoff velocity is low and his jump height is low. Guy number 2 has some more force production capabilities in his quads and glutes and hamstrings, so he jumps a little bit higher because he accelerates faster, therefore his takeoff velocity is a little bit greater and his jump height is a little bit greater as well. And then guy number 3 with the jacked quads and glutes and hamstrings, he jumps super high, he has mega boosties, and his takeoff velocity is high, resulting in a high jump height. Now we could also say that each of these guys, as they increase in their force production ability, their ability to accelerate their own mass is increasing. All right, but now let's look at what happens if mass is increased in each of these systems, but force stays the same. Okay, so what I'll do now is actually duplicate our most muscular man 3 times, and we're going to see what happens when we add a bit of a belly to him. So let's say that guy number 1 is super lean, guy number 2 is packing on a little bit of that post-collegiate chub, and guy number 3, he's post-collegiate, and he has maybe a bit of extra adipose tissue on top of the other 2. Okay, so the mass is now increasing on each of these 3 consecutive systems. And what happens when they try to jump? Try to predict it before I draw it. Okay, so guy number 1, I'm sure you could predict, he jumps exactly the same as our third man in the first example because he has the same mass and the same amount of force. Guy number 2, he has some extra mass and the same force because his muscles are the same size as we drew them, and so he jumps a little less high. The takeoff velocity is a little lower. And guy number 3, well, he has the most massive system to move, the same amount of muscle force that he can apply, and therefore he doesn't jump quite as high. So we can see as mass of the system increases, then acceleration from the same force that's applied will actually decrease. Okay, let's go to example number 2. Okay, in this example, we are drawing a shot put. And what I want us to look at now is the trajectory of this shot put through the air after it leaves the athlete's hand. Now, at every instantaneous moment along this trajectory, we have the resultant force vector. Okay, this is the resultant vector of all of the forces acting upon this object, each of these white vectors that I'm drawing. Now, as we resolve each of these vectors into the horizontal and vertical components, we can see that they are slowly changing from positive to negative. Okay, so gravity and air resistance are two external forces here that are acting consistently on this system. And you can see that as we go through this parabolic flight path of the shot put, eventually it starts traveling down and not quite as horizontal. And that's because of the gravity and the air resistance acting on the system, okay, causing it to decelerate, or rather accelerate in the negative direction in both the horizontal and the vertical planes. Okay, so there you have it, Newton's second law, two examples, both of them from biomechanics, one to do with vertical jumping and the other to do with shot putting. Now, to continue learning about Newton's laws, head over to this video to check out Newton's third law, the law of action and reaction, or check out any of these other biomechanics videos in the playlist. As always, I'm Dr. Goodin, happy to answer your questions in the comments below. Thanks for watching.